Welcome to In Residence, a podcast from Atlanta Homes and Lifestyles. I'm Elizabeth Ralls, the publisher.
And I'm Lauren Iverson, the editorial director.
In this mini-series, we'll speak with the features and the legends of interior design here in Atlanta.
You can find each of our interviewees in our print edition of Atlanta Homes and Lifestyles throughout the year or online at atlantahomesmac.com.
Come on in. Based in Atlanta, Georgia, Jackye Lanham of Jacquelynne Lanham Designs has designed residential projects all over the United States, from major cities to the mountains and the beach. Her commercial projects include private clubs in the U.S. and abroad. Jackye's design stamp is synonymous with gracious, inviting, layered, and storied Southern hospitality. So today it is my great honor to have Jackye Lanham of Jacquelynne Lanham Designs here in Atlanta with us on the In Residence podcast. Welcome, Jackye.
Thank you.
So Jackye is being honored as one of our legends in Atlanta Homes and Lifestyles magazine. We have had the pleasure of featuring her work through the years, through the decades. It's usually always on the cover. And we also get an influx of back issue orders whenever we feature a Jackye Lanham project.
It might be me doing it.
It's not. We checked the addresses. There are some from St. Louis. There's some from all over the South. But Jackye, you are sort of the original influencer. So welcome today. I want to start by taking it back over 20 years.
Yeah.
My first introduction to your work was when I was at the bottom rung of the editorial ladder at Southern Accents magazine.
Right.
And there was a feature, a holiday feature in the November-December issue, probably 2004, 2005, called The Stockings Were Hung. And it was sort of this masterclass for me, being young and in my 20s, on gracious and inviting, Southern entertaining, and really placemaking and telling that visual narrative. Do you remember this feature?
I do. I thought I almost killed myself doing it.
Oh my gosh.
But I got I think I was under the influence at the time of, I was doing a project in Ireland.
Okay.
And so I was real into the British Isles. And so everything, I had a theme, that theme that was going on. So I had plaid, I had custom-made plaid wool stockings. And this was for my office.
Okay.
It was our office Christmas
gathering.
party.
Yes.
A Christmas party.
Okay.
So I went to Scott's, the antique market, and bought everybody Irish brooches. So they were Scottish gems. Each one, they're all different, and I pinned them on the stockings. And there are other things. You know, everything was horn, pottery. I loved the combination of the feminine and the masculine, the lace with the masculine plaids, and fur. I think I went and bought fake fur.
I love
throws from the Pottery Barn to throw around the tables. Okay. It was so fun.
Absolutely. Well, that was one of many things that I would learn through Southern Accents, but that specifically was my introduction to your work. And I think even today that would resonate. I wish that we still had access to all that beautiful photography, because it was probably not even digital at that point. But there were carafes that were etched with your employees' monograms on it, topped with a Christmas wreath, and there were these elaborately decorated presents with boughs of pine cones and mistletoe sprigs, and really, again, something that would resonate today, and probably on Instagram or on TikTok. So,
that's so fun.
But I say this because I truly believe that you were sort of one of Atlanta's original influencers, and I wanted to, take us back. Okay, now we're at 2026. What were your original influences, especially with placemaking and telling a story and a visual narrative?
Oh gosh, that's a hard question. So it probably has a lot of answers.
Okay.
But I will say that, first of all, I am in my head, I love to tell the story, because that helps me put things together. So I'm a dreamer and a story maker, to start with. And then when I first came to Atlanta, a huge influence on me was I went to work, and I worked for them for about almost 15 years for a company. It's an antique company. It's one of the best antique dealers in the South, I think. It was Hayes Leger, and I work for Tom Hayes.
Yes.
And he has the most beautiful taste and a sense of living. I think that was the whole thing. I learned that you have a sense of living your interior or your surrounding, your spaces, and he taught me that. So it's all those things, I guess you're asking me. I learned about fresh flowers, that they shouldn't look like they came from a florist. They should look like I walked outside and
From the garden.
I would say I whacked off some branches and shoved them in a vase, because it looks natural. It's
Right.
just a natural way of learning how to live your environment. And Tom was a huge influence on me and for that. And not only that, but he exposed me to the world of antiques, and not just here, because I traveled with them to France and England. I've been to Scotland, Ireland, Spain. And then we got into the rattan and basketry
Yes.
business. And so I would go and we'd design baskets in the Philippines, in Hong Kong. And I'd have to go by myself and, be among people that were so interesting, and once again, your brain starts making up stories, what were they like, where'd they live,
Right.
all these things. And so you start combining all those experiences together.
Okay.
And that's what sort of begins what I guess you say your style. So maybe I hope that answers your
Yes,
question.
absolutely. So you worked for Tom Hayes for about 15 years, and he was an interior designer and antiques dealer.
Antique dealer.
And then mainly baskets, I presume.
Right,
is
mainly baskets.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. The
So,
retailer with all the wicker and the...
Exactly.
Yes,
That's
okay.
exactly right.
And so after 15 years, was that when you decided to go off on your own?
Yes.
Or? Okay.
Yes. So, and that was, I will say, in the 80s. So, now everybody knows how old I am.
Yeah.
But so I started my business. We bought a building together with Norman Askins.
Okay.
So Norman and I had, actually, Norman went to high school with my husband.
Oh my gosh.
And so, like parents do, they say you need to meet, and you think, oh no, I'm not going to like them. But we did, and of course, we had this instant friendship. And I think Bill and I were one of his first customers or
No
clients.
kidding. Oh my gosh.
So I've been working with him since the 80s, 70s actually, I think it was. So when we found this building and I was going to go on my own, do you want to hear the story?
Yes.
Okay. So we went to Norman, who will tell you when you all talk to him. He had his office was in his basement, and his people that work for him drew next to the washer and dryer. And Bill and I thought, okay, Norman, it's time for you
Right.
to be a little bit
Level
more,
up.
be
Yeah.
a little bit more professional. So the two of us bought our building together, which is on East Paces Ferry Road. You
Yes,
know it.
yes.
You were right down the
We're new neighbors.
your new
Yes.
neighbors. So Norman then was my second huge influence. So I had Tom taught me about the beauty of antiques, the patina. I learned things, the connoisseurship that so many people don't have. I don't think they are given that
a lost art
opportunity.
today.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just because I was around them. And I also was on the other side of the business. I was the vendor, the dealer, the seller.
Right.
And I was dealing and selling to very prominent interior designers and architects like Dan Carruthers.
Right.
So I got to know them from that side. And so Norman and he taught me architecture. And I learned about, space and planning and all the different terms of architecture. And it made me, so I had those two. I had decorative arts and I had the architectural side.
Okay.
And I mean, that in its own is a blessing.
Right.
So-
Absolutely. And then going back even further, you were part of a military family, so
Oh,
you moved
exactly.
quite a bit.
I did. I moved actually every 2.5 years of my life, of which answers one of your questions. You'd asked me about home. You don't have a home.
Right.
What you just start to settle in and you're moving again.
Mm-hmm.
So everything you own is in a box.
Right.
And or your Foot Locker, and those are my things and my treasures that I'd move from home, place to place. So I learned to make my little space
Right.
my
Wherever you
homey
were.
place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Home is where the heart is. Yes.
Yes, exactly,
So you learned
exactly.
that from a really young age.
I know. Yeah, you're
Yes.
right.
Okay.
But like so many people, I've heard their stories. I mean, I rearranged my furniture in my little bedroom about 100 times, and never satisfied,
Right.
right?
Right.
But
And then you would
anyway,
have the opportunity to change it immediately
yeah,
almost if
I
you
know. I'm
didn't
so
like it. So,
happy. I know.
oh my gosh, I love it. Well, going back to what you mentioned earlier through your work with Tom and being on the other side of the business, you mentioned the word connoisseurship,
Yes,
which is something that I think in today's world can get very lost and sort of with that click to buy, instant gratification,
right.
dupe culture. So I want to talk a little bit about, I think that is one thing that is really so indicative when I see an image of your work. And I think so many of us who love design and love our homes can look at your work if it was in Atlanta Homes and Lifestyles last month or if it was in Southern Accents 20 years ago. They can look at a project and see your work and say, that must be Jackye Lanham. And I think that connoisseurship has something to do with it. Of course, there's several other incredible features, I think, of a Jackye Lanham interior. But talk to me a little bit about your collections because you must be a shopper, a serious shopper by default. And I know we have such great resources here in Atlanta in terms of antique shops and, of course, ADAC at your fingertips. But where do you go to source your collections? And or complete a collection, or are you at auction? Are you around the world shopping?
Well, first of all, I have age on my side. So, and I also I was on, I was on a dealer. I'm not going to say
Yes.
I was the dealer, but I traveled and bought for a business.
Okay.
And so I was exposed to a lot of different things. And, when you are young, you have, so much money. And so you start looking at things that you like or intrigued with and buy what you can afford.
Right.
So as an advice to most people, I always tell a client or anybody to buy the best you can afford. So don't give in to what a trend is or
Right.
anything. If you see something, then buy the best you can afford.
Right.
So starting with that, I was exposed to a lot of different sources, and I think now that's the nice thing about the internet is if you know the source and you know what they sell and you can trust them, you can
Right.
buy it on the internet.
Relationships.
And I'm
Okay.
not, yes, you have a relationship and I'm not worried about the quality. So much of things online now, I worry about the quality.
Right.
Because I think, well, that looks
never know what you're gonna
good.
get,
Yeah,
right.
you never know what you're going to get. Are the two legs up front, great, and the two in the back, broken. So
Right.
you just don't know. So it's hard. And the sources here around us, so many of them have closed. Like my dear friend Tom Hayes is no longer in business. Our wonderful Barry Hutner closed his
Yes.
shop. I almost died.
Yes.
And it's just so many of those things have closed down. And unless you can develop and travel yourself
Right.
to New York or Charlotte or, and find your own sources,
Right.
I think it's hard.
Right.
I really do. So, but I do go online, and I have bought some great things at auction.
Okay.
And it's one of those things. One of the things we did, I love silver, and I love coin silver. And I saw at Bronx auction, there was some silver flatware that had come up that belonged to the past former governor of South Carolina back in, like the 18th or 19th century. And so I thought, I've got to have that. And so we put a bid in, and I forgot about it. And Bill and I were driving down, going somewhere, like to Florida. And I said, oh my gosh, that silver's coming up now.
Right.
And I said, Bill, how many pieces were there? We didn't even, I don't even know what it is. I said, we could get 49 Demitas spoons.
Right.
Well, what do I need for that?
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
anyway, we got it. We got
Okay.
this a lot of like 70 pieces, and they're fabulous forks, real heavy, that heavy silver, coin silver, forks and dinner spoons. And I thought we had hit, as we say,
Right.
pay dirt.
Yes.
So that was a great thing on
Okay.
auction. So it's sort of, I thought, okay, I think I can do this.
Right. There's an element of the treasure hunting that I'm
It
sure is
is.
part of the.
It is. It is. When you see a correction chair, a correctional chair, which is anyway, it's a little chair. They're hard to find, and I collect actually horn cups, hunting cups,
Yes.
with silver mounts, and those are hard to find. So when I see them on auction, I figure,
Snap
what
'em
the
up.
heck? Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, so
Yeah.
things like that.
And so when you have such a massive collection, for instance, like you just discussed that you have won at auction, are you keeping all of them? Are you potentially divesting some of them with your clients if they're interested, or
No.
no? Okay. You don't share.
No. But you asked me, one of the questions you asked me was about had I collected things from my favorites and had I purged some things.
Yes, because you, as I understand it, you had merged two households when you moved to Kiowa
I did.
Island. And
I
so
did.
you were merging a Charleston pied-à-terre
Right.
as well as a Florida
Right.
residence. And
Right.
so how do you pick your favorite children
I
and
know.
what goes where?
It's really hard.
Yeah.
That was hard because the house in Florida was my vision of living in Greece.
Okay.
So, of which I did live in Greece.
Yes.
And so I remember it. I conjured up my whole, I was in like junior high living there and, what it was like. And so I reimagined it in Florida like 30 years ago. And so I had a lot of that white and blue and,
Right.
bottles and found objects, shark's teeth, and because I love fossils and fossilized horse bones. I mean, these are all things,
Yes.
you have to be kind of crazy to
Yeah.
like all that. Anyway, so I had all of that. We also collect antique maps.
Okay.
So
That's
I
something
had
Bill is interested in, your
Yes,
husband.
yes. And we
Okay.
had I have some fabulous maps of Florida that are all from 1830.
Wow.
And so I had all of that beachy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Charleston, it was very pristine Charlestonian in my head.
Serious a little bit, yeah.
Serious mahogany pieces of furniture. Excuse me. And so we did this house, which I don't want to go into it too much, in Kiowa. And I was scared, literally, I was scared to put furniture in it because it was designed by Stan Dixon. And it was this beautiful, different tabby house.
Right.
And I was afraid I would ruin it. It was one of those
Never.
things. Well, it's just how do you merge
Right.
these things?
Right.
So I made up a story,
Okay.
and that's
love it.
your brain.
Right.
So I made up a story, if you want to hear it, about it was this building was a outbuilding from the old Van Dross plantation on Kiowa.
Okay.
So because it was a found building,
Right.
and it was 2 stable blocks where they kept the horses. And when the old man died, Van Dross died, he left his daughter, the only daughter, these stables because her brothers inherited the plantation and she got nothing. But what she got was all the leftovers. So she got the leftover chairs, all the leftover artwork, the
Right.
things that nobody wanted. Forks,
But
like
things with a lot of meaning.
things that had
Yes,
meaning,
right.
but she got 4 forks
Yeah.
instead of a set.
Right.
She got 2 chairs that didn't match. And so that helped me put these 2 houses together.
Right.
So it helped me have some formal pieces of furniture with some very country, rustic pieces. It helped me merge silver and pottery together because of the 2 different, she literally was given the leftovers.
Right.
And so that helped me create that whole house, the
I love
interiors.
it. I love that
So
story.
anyway,
Yes.
yeah. So it's just makeup.
Right. Well, and that probably helps you with your clients as well when
Yeah.
you've had to go through that process and you understand.
How do I do this?
Right. And just picking favorite things, especially if someone's downsizing, and they only want to choose certain objects that are important to them.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so where did everything else go from that project?
Well, I've given a lot away.
Okay.
And I also have a lot in a
I was going to
warehouse.
say, do we need to Jackye Lanham
Yeah,
warehouse sale?
yeah, we do, we do. I've got to get rid of a lot of it,
Right, right,
but that'll come.
right.
It'll come.
Okay.
So slowly but surely. But I was going to tell you one of the collections I had. I fell in love a long time ago. Well, I love Staffordshire pottery.
Yes.
And the rabbit form of Staffordshire is a very rare form. And they're beautiful because they're just sort of crunched down. And I love this pair of rabbits, so I bought them. And then I found a Venetian bronze. I found a Chinese piece of porcelain. They're all rabbits. And they kind of grew. And then my friends knew I liked a rabbit, and so they would start giving me things that weren't exactly rare or charming.
Right.
So they were like, like salt and pepper shakers,
Right.
or a heron rabbit, or I don't know. It was
Right.
growing.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I got to stop.
Had a whole flock of bunnies.
I had too many bunnies. We had to stop the bunny births.
Okay,
So
yes.
I got rid of those.
Right.
I purged. And
Okay.
I gave a lot away to a young girl who loves
amazing.
rabbits. And
Right.
so I was thrilled for her to have them.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
I love that story.
so they're out. They're out.
Oh my gosh. Well, going back to some of these greats that you've mentioned, Barry Huttner, for instance, there was a picture, or a post, I should say, of you with Furlow Gatewood, who is another incredible design great, and Barry Huttner, and John Rosselli, who's
Right.
also a retired antique stealer,
Oh, yeah.
Bunny Williams' husband. And first of all, I was struck by, oh my gosh, all of you in one room together. I'd love to be a fly on the wall. And I assume that was was that for the ICAA potentially?
It was, yes. So Furlow won the Lifetime Achievement
right.
Award, and he was in his 90s, and he could not come to Atlanta.
Okay.
So Barry and I drove to him
Okay.
in Americus, and that was such a special meeting for us. And of
Right.
course, John Rosselli was there. I mean,
Yes.
so we had a great afternoon. We had lunch together, and we got him to sign a lot of books that we brought
Yes.
up to the ICAA
Right. Okay.
Schutze Awards, and it was very special.
Well, and the other thing that struck me about that photo was that you came of age at a time where you were probably one of a select few female decorators, designing women, so to speak. So what was that like? You went on your own, what, is the late 80s? Or?
In the 80s,
Okay.
yeah, in the late 80s. So, that's, I knew you asked me that question, and I really honestly didn't really
Never register?
It
Okay.
never
Yeah.
registered. I never thought about
Doing
it
what you
because
loved.
I just
Yeah.
was doing my thing, and I had my loan business, and I've always worked with men.
Mm-hmm.
So, I worked with Tom Hayes and Bert Leger, then I worked with Norman,
Right.
and then I started working for golf clubs, and it was always the managers, the club managers, or the club presidents. So I was always dealing my world
Right.
with men. So I never thought about being different.
Right.
And so I thought back, and I thought, but that time there were some really, really powerful, strong interior designers, women.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be like Dottie Travis. I mean,
Right.
she was amazing. Jane Marsden, look what she
Yes.
built up,
Right.
an empire.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so did Dottie.
Right.
Susan Wilcox,
Yes.
Marie Warren. Remember? I don't know if you knew
Not
Marie.
familiar with
Marie
her.
had
Okay.
beautiful taste.
Okay.
And of course, Nancy Braithwaite.
Yes.
So Nancy and I were we were more
Contemporaries.
yeah. And she did her thing, and I did kind of my thing.
Okay.
So, but we were friends, and
Right.
got, I never thought about as being a select few.
Right. Okay. Well, I love that
yeah,
because
yeah.
clearly you were very complimentary to all of these styles and all of these men, and
Right.
brought a nuance to the project that the female perspective can bring.
Yeah.
And that's so interesting. But when you said, what was the name of the chair you mentioned earlier?
The correction chair.
The correction chairs. Yes, because when I think of Nancy, I think of all those chairs.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know. She loved primitive. I guess, American
Right.
furniture. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But what a great class of women to be surrounded by.
Totally.
Yeah. And
Totally.
one thing that I feel like about the Atlanta design community, and it clearly dates back to even the 80s, is that I do feel like there is such a support network here. Regardless, you could be competitors, but everyone is still so gracious to one another and supportive.
Right.
And, there's enough work to go around for everyone, certainly.
Totally.
But that's great to know that it's been going on for decades.
For a long time.
So,
Yeah, I know. I think we all appreciate each other's perspective, and everybody is really different,
Right.
in their approach, I think. So,
Yeah, I love that. Good. Well, I wanted to get into a little bit. I mentioned that whenever we feature a Jackye Lanham project, you're typically on the cover, and we get a lot of fangirls that come out who all of a sudden are, reabsorbed in the style. And I think the one thing, not the one thing, but one of many things, there's just this effortless ease to your projects. In addition to being beautiful and elegant, it feels like you can see your client's personality shine through. It feels like you can also pick up your feet and stay a while because it's very inviting. And that connoisseurship that you spoke about earlier kind of comes through. And I'm sure that you have a hand in guiding your clients, towards certain collections or thoughtful arrangements and
Right.
such. So tell me what a Jackye Lanham signature is for
I love-
you, to where you would say, maybe, I know talking to Phoebe Howard, she'll say every woman who leaves Phoebe Howard knows how to make a bed. And I will always say that if you leave here with one thing, it's, how to make a bed properly. So what is one thing that maybe a former employer, or someone would say a Jackye Lanham interior is never without? Yeah.
That's a hard question also. Your questions are very thought-provoking. I feel like I love, these are things I love. I love pretty curtains. And I like curtains that have detail, that there's more than just sewing up, two sides.
Right.
Or I love wall display. I think it's really interesting to take. I think in the early days, I used to do a lot with plates.
Right.
And because I like porcelain and pottery, and it's to put them on the walls with different brackets and mirrors.
Right.
I think that just makes sort of a spectacular statement. And I think that comes from traveling a lot to these English country homes and castles, the way, they would display their wealth on the walls with porcelain or I got my idea for golf clubs because they would put all their swords and all their armory on the walls that said, I'm a powerful person. So I love that idea, and I think it's kind of cool to take interesting things and put them on the walls.
Right, and tell a story.
And it tells a story, and it's the things that are your clients' things that are, one client had the mother-in-law, not ex-mother-in-law, her mother-in-law had a whole collection of silver spoons that she collected from traveling all over Europe, like the European Grand Tour.
Right.
And so we framed them all. I shadow boxed them. And so all those silver spoons are not just thrown in a drawer or hanging on some rack. I mean, they're framed and look very important. And I've done that with shark's teeth. I've done it with rattlesnake tails.
Oh, wow.
That are all documented where they're found, with fossils, with shells. I love all that.
Right.
So I'm not saying that's a Jackye Lanham thing, but
the thought that goes into
I
something
think,
like that.
So maybe the Jackye Lanham thing is that she's really not a decorator. I'm saying
Curator,
she wants the house to feel like a home. So I like it to feel like you belong there, not some decorator just left the door. So I like it to look like where, I would say, where's the owner? Where do they sit? There should be somewhere where they sit, want to sit, be a part of.
Right.
And so I like the house to look a little bit off, maybe
Right.
a little bit more frumpy. So it looks like maybe, the owner just got up from the sofa and went into the kitchen to fix a drink. I like it like that.
Right.
Not perfect.
Right.
So so it is inviting, comfortable, not, you know, not, what is the word I want?
Not predictable.
Well, not
Yes.
predictable, but not intimidating. I like rooms that are not intimidating.
I feel like there's always an element of surprise
Yeah,
too.
I like that too.
Yes.
Something a little off. I like that. It's always sort of that whimsy something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, while I have not hired you to work for our family before, I feel like the closest I got to working together with you was on that Haverty house, the show house,
Oh,
where
yeah.
you were our honorary chair.
Oh,
I think it was over 10 years ago now, but that was such a special way to work together. And that was the foyer of historic James
right.
Means
Right.
house with the black and white tile in the
Oh,
entry.
that was amazing. Yeah.
And I just remember, and of course, that stairwell had some charm
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. But I felt like you really captured that kind of storybook charm of that residence. And then we shot it, of course, with the show house. It gets photographed every which way, right?
Right.
And people rent it in the newspaper and their blogs and on social media. I think at that point, social media was just starting to take off. But I remember we were there the last Wednesday before we closed. I was there with the photographer, and we were trying to capture, every last gasp of that home. And we turned around and we looked at it from the opposite direction. And so instead of walking through the front door and looking in, we turned around towards the front door, facing out towards the street. And we captured this view that we said, no one's taken this photo yet of this space. And that ended up running on our cover.
That's
and we were able to see some of the original hardware from the door, some of the bones of that house, because that was one of the few historic renovations that we've done as a show house. But that was so special. And just seeing the way that you were able to bring that to life and, tell the dreams that you had made up for that space. And that was, this probably a couple hundred square feet or less.
Exactly. Exactly. But it was very undecorated.
Right.
I think.
The space.
Yeah.
But you had those collections. You had the walking sticks in there. Yes. And
I forgot about
yeah.
that. It's interesting because I put portieres up.
Yes.
I don't even remember.
Yes.
And that was maybe one of the first times anybody had done that. But
Okay.
I realized that I didn't have any fabric. There was nothing there because I had no windows or anything.
Right.
So I thought, well, let's just do curtains on the doorways. And they ran that in the Wall Street Journal.
Okay.
I didn't know if you knew that.
No.
They had an article on portieres.
Oh my gosh.
And this
I love
random
it.
woman called me, and
No.
yeah, I don't know how long ago that was, but anyway.
Oh my gosh.
So
I love it.
your house showed up
Yes,
somewhere else.
good.
Yeah.
I mean, they do. They live long after their, because that's the sad part about show houses is
I know.
that they come down.
I know for sure.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I think, and you had also just those thoughtful arrangements. I mean, like you were saying, whether it's the rattletail snakes or the shark's teeth and when they were collected. I mean, I think that attention to detail is just, exactly what.
Well, I remember on that particular one, I had a girl that used to work for me. Her name is Tyler Colgan.
Yes, of course.
And Tyler was this wonderful artist. And so I asked her to do some watercolors of the creeks and rivers of Atlanta.
Okay.
And so she did those, and then we framed them, and those
Yes.
are in that entrance hall.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
I
they
love
all
it.
had meaning,
Yes.
to where we were, and I guess that's another thing I like. I like things that are in the rooms or homes that have meaning to where they
Right.
are, a sense of place,
Right.
instead of some random, not alligator. That does have meaning. Like a tiger.
Right.
What's the tiger doing in your house?
Right.
So,
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, Jackie, you have seen Atlanta change so much over the last few decades. And we touched on this earlier, but what would you say are some of the things that have not changed in the last couple of decades since you started
Right,
your
right,
career
right.
that you still appreciate?
well, I think I've thought about that too. And I feel like the one thing that has never changed is that Atlantans love their homes and their gardens.
Yes.
And they appreciate, They want them to be as pretty and as beautiful as they can afford.
Right.
And so there's an immense appreciation for that, for the interiors, for the architecture,
Right.
and for the landscape, which I think is fantastic. And I haven't seen that change at all. I mean,
Yes.
tastes change,
Right.
trends change, we know all
Yes.
that. But that and hospitality, I
Right.
think there's just always, everyone talks about the
Right.
Southern hospitality, but it does reign.
The continuous thread.
Yes, it has not changed at all. So I think that's, without thinking about skyscrapers and too many
Right.
houses and too many developments and
Yes.
the roads not being in great condition. I mean,
But Southern hospitality can erase all of that.
it really
Yeah.
can. It really can. So,
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, Jackie, thank you so
Well,
much
thank
for your time
you.
today. We loved having you.
thank you. I appreciate you having me, and I've had a great time. Thank you.